Most people never stop to question how England actually came to exist. It's easy to take the country for granted as if it's always been there, an unchanging part of the map. But the truth is, England's birth was anything but inevitable. Behind the familiar name lies a tangled web of forgotten wars, shifting alliances, and betrayals that would make even the boldest Game of Thrones plot seem tame. Before England could ever become the heart of an empire, it had to survive centuries of chaos, invasion, and near destruction. So, how did a patchwork of warring tribes and rival kingdoms transform into the nation we know today? The real story is far more dramatic and far less well-known than most people realize. When the Roman Empire finally abandoned Britain, the land that would become England was left in utter turmoil. With no central power to protect them, the native Britons found themselves under constant attack from fierce neighbors like the Picts and the Scots, desperate for help. Some accounts claim the Britons invited Germanic tribes, the Anglo-Saxons, to defend their homeland. But what started as a plea for protection quickly spiraled out of control. The Anglo-Saxons, once welcomed as allies, soon turned on their hosts, carving out their own territories and pushing the Britons to the fringes. Some historians still debate whether the Britons truly invited their future conquerors, or if this story was just a convenient legend to explain a brutal takeover. Either way, the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons marked the beginning of a new and unpredictable era. As the Anglo-Saxons tightened their grip on the land, England fractured into a patchwork of rival kingdoms. Names like Essex, Kent, Sussex, Mercia, East Anglia, Northumbria, and Wessex began to dominate the landscape, each ruled by its own ambitious leader. These kingdoms were far from peaceful neighbors, alliances shifted constantly, and power struggles erupted with little warning. The records from this era are frustratingly sparse, leaving historians to piece together a story filled with gaps and mysteries. But one thing is clear, this was a time of relentless competition where no kingdom's dominance was ever guaranteed. Beneath the surface, tension simmered, and the stage was set for even greater upheaval. The fragile balance between these early English realms would soon be shattered by a new Kodesh and terrifying threat. With the rest of England collapsing under Viking pressure, Wessex became the final line of defense. Its King Alfred was thrust into a role he never expected, facing an enemy that seemed unstoppable. At first, Alfred tried to buy time, literally, by paying off the Vikings to spare his kingdom. But as the threat grew, so did his resolve. When the moment came, Alfred led his forces into the legendary Battle of Edington, where the Vikings were finally driven back in a stunning reversal. This victory didn't just save Wessex. It shifted the balance of power. Alfred took control of Mercia, placing the loyal noble in charge and keeping ultimate authority for himself. For the first time, the idea of a united English resistance began to take shape. But the struggle was far from over. After Alfred's triumph, the next generation wasted no time pushing the boundaries of their newfound power. Edward, Alfred's son, and his formidable sister, Æthelflæd, launched a relentless campaign against the Viking-held territories. Together, they reclaimed lost lands and expanded their influence, with Æthelflæd even winning the loyalty of York without a single battle. But just as Mercia seemed poised for a new era under Æthelflæd's daughter, Clofwyn, the unexpected happened. The Mercian nobles ousted her almost immediately. Some whisper it was a calculated move, a silent coup that handed Edward the perfect excuse to seize Mercia outright. With this bold takeover, Edward united the two great kingdoms, setting the stage for an even larger English realm. Yet the quest for unity was only just beginning. Æthelstan, Edward's son, would take the dream of a united England further than anyone before him. Through a mix of clever marriages and decisive military campaigns, he managed to bring the powerful kingdom of York under his control after the death of his brother-in-law. The Viking ruler Sihtric, with Northumbria now in his grasp, Æthelstan boldly declared himself King of the English, a title no one had claimed before. But his ambitions didn't stop there. In 937, he faced a massive alliance of enemies at the brutal Battle of Brunanburh, so fierce that it's still remembered as one of the bloodiest in British history. Many historians argue this victory truly forged the English identity, but debate lingers. Was Æthelstan the first real king of England, or just the most successful warlord of his age? The unity that Æthelstan fought so hard to achieve was quickly put to the test. After his death, the Vikings wasted no time in making a comeback, seizing on the kingdom's moment of weakness. King Olaf of Dublin, a seasoned Viking leader, swept in and recaptured York, along with large swaths of Northumbria and Mercia. The English crown seemed to be slipping away once again, but the new king, Edmund, refused to let the kingdom unravel. He launched a determined counterattack, gradually reclaiming lost territories and pushing the Vikings back. By the time Edmund had finished, England was once again reunited under a single ruler. Yet the cycle of conquest and reconquest had left scars, and the threat of division still loomed over the fragile kingdom. Just as England seemed to be finding its footing, disaster struck again. King Edmund was suddenly murdered under mysterious circumstances, fueling rumors of betrayal and hidden enemies within his own court. His younger brother, Edgar, inherited a kingdom on the brink, only to face a fresh wave of chaos. Eric Bloodaxe, a notorious Norwegian warlord, seized Northumbria and plunged the region into nearly a decade of violent power struggles. The English crown was forced to fight tooth and nail to reclaim its lost territory. Eventually, Edgar managed to drive out the invaders and restore Northumbria to English rule. But the scars of these relentless battles ran deep. The struggle for unity was far from over, and England's future remained uncertain, teetering between hope and upheaval. When the dust finally settled, a new ruler emerged who would bring a rare period of calm to the battered kingdom. Edgar, remembered as the Peaceful, took the throne and began to lay the true foundations of England as a unified nation. Instead of ruling with an iron fist, Edgar focused on stability, passing reforms that blended Anglo-Saxon and Danish laws to keep the peace among his diverse subjects. His nearly two-decade reign was marked by order, unity, and a sense of national identity that had long eluded the English. Some wonder if Edgar's peace came at a hidden cost, as old rivalries simmered beneath the surface. Still, his leadership gave England the breathing room it desperately needed to heal, grow, and finally begin to look like the country we recognize today. Looking back, the creation of England was anything but straightforward. It was a long, unpredictable journey marked by invasions, betrayals, and shifting alliances. From the chaos left behind by the Romans to the rise of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, and through the relentless Viking onslaughts, England's path to unity was paved with conflict and resilience. It took generations of leaders, some bold, some ruthless, some unexpectedly wise, to finally bring the land together under one crown. Even then, the borders were never truly secure, and the sense of national identity was still taking shape. The story of England's birth is a reminder that nations aren't simply born. They're forged in the fires of struggle, and their true origins are often far more dramatic than we're ever taught.